So today I'm going to be reading from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, right? I love my yoga books. These are books that I studied within my certification, and I just revisit them over and over and over again. Okay, so today we're talking about what's called vrittis. And vrittis are modifications of the mind, or in other words, things that cause suffering. And today we are talking about the vritti of misconception. I read the vritti of misconception. A vritti is a mental modification, in other words, a fluctuation of the mind away from truth. And that's what causes suffering, reactivity, all kinds of behavior, and things like that. So it says, misconception occurs when knowledge of something is not based upon its true form. So here's an example. In the twilight, you see a coiled rope and mistake it for a snake. Thank you, T. You see a coiled rope and you mistake it for a snake. You get frightened. There's no snake in reality. There's a false understanding. But it still created a terror in your mind. It is not only valid knowledge that creates thought waves, but also erroneous impressions. When we are used to having a reactive mind, a nervous system that is dysregulated because we've been around people like that, or we ourselves have a natural tendency toward anxiety, your mind can fluctuate. You could be fine and somebody can say something, or something is done, or something seems to thwart you on your path, and you just go high in reactivity, right? There's a mental fluctuation, and you create that through erroneous impressions. Another way we create these misconceptions is through our expectations. We want something, we expect others to do it or give it. They don't, we react. We want to do something, we expect it to be smooth sailing. Something comes and throws a monkey wrench in the situation, and we react, right? So let's say you hear something, but really there is nothing like that. The misconception, at least, there is a rope to be mistaken for a snake, but in the verbal delusion, there's nothing there. Let me read that again. Let's say you think you hear something, but there's really nothing there. At least in the previous situation, there's a rope that you think is a snake. But when you think you hear something that isn't there, you still create an opinion about it. Suppose I say, I'm going to go into this analogy in a second, but I want us to park right here. Because when we're communicating with people, we think a person said something that they didn't say at all. You did say it. No, I didn't. Verbal delusions. You are in your room and you think you hear something in the living room and you jump up in terror. There's nothing there. And it's different from the previous one, because at least it's based in some type of form. At least you saw a rope and you thought it was a snake. But in the verbal delusion, you experience something in your mind that isn't in reality. We're talking about the ways the mind fluctuates and brings you into suffering, also the ways that your nervous system is programmed. When a mental modification of an object previously experienced and not forgotten comes back to consciousness, that is called a memory. Thank you, Jada. Memories create impressions in the mind, and at a later time come to the surface, either when we want them or sometimes when we do not want them. Memories come in two ways. Dreams are memories that come to the surface when we sleep. Daydreams are memories that arise during the day. Both are impressions, which when formed, slowly descend to the bottom of the mind and come to the surface when they are rekindled for some reason. These are the vrittis, or thought forms, that must be controlled to make the mind void and allow the inner peace to shine through. Knowing this, our next question is, thank you, Nikki, How can we control these vrittis? It's easy to say control your mind, but in reality, the mind seems to be controlling us. Why am I reading this? Because I practice and study yoga. And yoga is not just the body postures. This is also yoga. So let's say you could never do a stretch and you could never bend over. If you could perform these mental activities, you would still be doing yoga, okay? So how do we change these mental modifications is the question. These mental modifications are restrained by practice and non-attachment. On the positive side, you practice. On the other side, you detach yourself from the cause for these modifications. You detach yourself from the cause, not the person presenting it. That's important because a lot of times you do need to get away from a person when they're harmful, right? But you have to learn, you're going to have to learn how to detach yourself from the cause of your mental modifications or sufferings, okay? Patanjali gives both the positive and negative approach to thought control, which proceeds to elucidate the following sutras. So let's talk about it. How do we actually control the mind? How do we detach ourselves from the source of the suffering? Because sometimes you're not going to be able to get away from people. Sometimes you're going to have to sit in the midst and still be able to hold your peace. And so we got to find out how to do that. Since we know that we created, then we should know how to detach from what we created. Detach from what we created, okay? So we have effort towards steadiness of mind is practice. Effort toward steadiness of mind is practice. Patanjali means continuous practice, not just for 1 or 2 days. You get a new idea and you're like, yeah, I got it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to hold my vibration. Nobody's going to get on my nerves or whatever. And then it doesn't happen that day, but then 2 days later it happens. Hey, Sean. You got to practice. This doesn't come by knowledge. Just because you know better does not mean you do better. Knowledge is one of the first steps toward practice. You got to know that you need to change something. But more importantly, you got to know what you need to change it. Because, right, Jada, because some people think I need to change other people. I need to change my environment. I need to change my job. I need to change my friend circle. I need to change my family. And a lot of times you can't change any of that. And even when you do, you still meet someone else and you re-experience the same thing. So what actually needs to change? Your attachment to the way you create the suffering, that needs to change through continuous practice. You have to always be at it, not just for a few minutes a day and then allow the mind to have its own free time. You may think, I can practice over here and not over here. You got to practice everywhere. You might only want to practice self-control on the job, but you also need to practice self-control at home, in your words, in your thoughts, in your actions. So you're fooling yourself if you think you're really trying to change in a deep way, but you're still attached to different ways that you behave, think, and people you connect with. I'm going to do a little bit over here and not over there. No, it has to be a whole system reboot. Okay? I didn't say this. Patanjali said it, but I do agree. Okay? Think, for example, you're trying to change your language. You don't want to curse so much. You don't curse with your auntie and uncle anymore. You stop doing that. But you still go in your friend circle and let it loose. That might work a little while, but your subconscious is going to shine through. Eventually, you're going to be with uncle and auntie, and you're going to start cursing and, oh, my bad. That's what you're going to say. Auntie and uncle, I'm sorry. You got to do a whole system reboot if you really want to stop doing that. It takes a lot of energy to compartmentalize yourself. You realize that, right? Or you may say, I'm only going to eat right in front of my vegan friend because I don't want her to judge me. So you manage to do right when you're around your vegan friend. But then when you get around your meat eating friends, y'all eat meat together. Now your vegan friend comes over to your house and you forgot that you had meat in the refrigerator. How do you really want to be? Is the question. Not who you want to be to suit the people around you. Who do you really want to be? If you want to not worry about other people's opinions, then you really gotta practice that. Hey Z, yes, how you doing? Not just for a few minutes a day and then let your mind have its own free time all the other hours. It means that you become eternally watchful. This is a way of being. This is not actual control of the mind. This is re-engineering of the mind, right? You scrutinize every thought that you have. You don't ask people to accept the thoughts that you have that are causing your suffering. You scrutinize the thought yourself. Is this true? Is this producing expansion in me? Every word and every action, it says. Hey, Ralph. How? Patanjali gives 3 qualifications. All right, so now we're going to talk about the practice. Now, we just figured out what we're doing. We're looking at the vrittis, the mental modifications or the ways we cause suffering in our own life. We looked at the nature of them. We know that how they're going to change is through practice. Now, let's talk about the practice itself. It says practice becomes firmly grounded when well attended to for a long time without a break and in all earnestness. Practice becomes firmly grounded when well attended to. You decide that you want something different. You can't keep going back and dipping back into the previous program because you're strengthening it. You're saying at the same time, I don't want this. But spending your time there, creating reasons for why it's okay, is taking your vibration and augmenting it to fit that. You're a vibrational match to that, the thing you don't want. When you keep going back, and we all know how this is, right? All of us. You keep going back, and what you do is say, I want this, but you keep going back there. So your nervous system is part of your vibration. It's not just what you know that makes you high vibration. It's also what you don't know affecting your vibration. So if you got low vibrations that you're actively programming with, you're not a vibration to that, a vibrational match to the high vibration. Your nervous system is still back here. It's wild, right? And this is not even just on the level of energy. This is physical. Your nervous system will always choose familiarity, even though you don't want to. So that's why we have to reprogram on the level of the nervous system too. And that means practice over time. So the first qualification for practice is that it should be done for a long time. You get some new knowledge. You say, I'm not going to do this anymore. You don't do it for a while. And then here comes the thing creeping in, like the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Is that really a problem? You grew now. You could do something different. You could still enjoy that. Come on. Hey, Patrick. And you know what you do? You go, yeah, I like that. I feel like doing that. Yeah, okay. Before long, you all the way back there again. Wondering, how did I get here? Okay, yeah, we all be doing stuff like this until we wake up and realize that I'm not going to, if I want to move forward, right, Patrick? Dr. Jada, the habit starts again, right? So it's like you taking steps forward, and then here comes the thing, and you get pulled back right here. So you're farther than here, but you're just right here. So you're not any closer to over there, or not much closer. So you take some steps and then you pull back. And you take some steps and then you pull back. Eventually, your nervous system recalibrates to the thing you keep choosing. It's just like that, right? Okay, so you got to practice for a long time. But unfortunately, we want the result immediately. You ever tried to leave a thing that you were trying to leave and you just wanted immediately to not want it anymore because the pull, the craving, the desire, the pain, whatever would keep pulling you back, right? You want the result immediately. If I ask you to repeat a mantra and tell you that you will become more peaceful and realize beautiful things within, you will go back home and repeat it for 3 days and then call me and say, I did it for 3 days. But nothing happened. My clients be telling me that. I ate right for 3 days and still nothing happened. Maybe this is not a suitable mantra for me. We say, that didn't work. I tried that. That didn't work for me. Can you give me a different one? So Patanjali says for a long time, and he doesn't say how long. Right, we want that instant gratification. But he doesn't say how long. One of the things yoga, the practice of yoga does, is it disconnects you from your sense of time. The true practice of yoga. Because when you're there holding a posture for an extended amount of time, 3 to 5 minutes, like in yin yoga, you have to detach from time in order to get the benefits of yin yoga. If you stay there going, how long? How long? Is it there yet? Is that enough? Is that enough? You're going to come out of the pose and your mind has not aligned as yoga is designed to cause it to become. So then it should be without a break, I often hear. Oh, I've been practicing yoga for the past 10 years, but I'm still the same. How often? Off and on. So you need a continuous practice. The last qualification is in all earnestness. That means with your full attention. So some of your attention ain't back there going, oh, I missed that. You see what's happening? Your full attention. You got to be determined that you want to look this way, no matter how much that back there is reaching to you, if you really want to change your nervous system. That means with your full attention, with the entire application of your mind, going back to the question of how long until you're different. That's how long. You know what? Whatever it takes, I'm here for it, because whatever comes to me is what I need. Right? Okay. So you must do it with your full attention and the application of your mind with full faith in your achievement. This is not something you back down from. I did it for 3 weeks and nothing changed. I did it for a month and nothing changed. Continue. Yes, we are all moving toward the second, because all of us have places in our lives where we're asking how long and how much, right? But the ascension or the evolution of that is to detach from that mind that is grounded in a particular thing that really needs to go, right? Okay. Even when you want something or somebody on the past level, you will be after it day and night. You don't sleep, you don't eat, you're always at it. If you want something or want someone, you're constantly going toward them, right? If this quality is necessary to achieve even worldly success, how much more so success with yourself? So let us not, it says, so let us not be like little children who sow a seed today and dig it up tomorrow to see how much the root went down. We need all these 3 qualities: patience, devotion, faith. So what do you need to reprogram your nervous system, to keep doing the new thing over and over and over again until it's like second nature? With some things, yes. But when we're talking about spirit, when we're talking about energy, when we're talking about really re-engineering the mind, because see, you could still believe that someone is whatever, even though you stop choosing them. But what I'm talking about is shifting the way the mind thinks about the person or the thing at hand so that it's not even an option. I'm talking about a deep transformation. So what do you need for deep transformation on the level of your nervous system and beyond? Patience, devotion, and faith. Let me read this story and we're coming to an end. This reminds me of a small story given in the Hindu scriptures. It's in the Deva Loka, or the heavenly plane where divine beings live. There is a great sage called Narada. Oh, here's the parable right here. I'm going to read it to you again. Let's listen. Now it's in Hindu terms, not my paraphrase of it. Okay, here it is. So, this takes place in the heavenly plane where the divine beings live. There's a great sage called Narada. Just as there are great yogis here, so there are great ones among the gods. So Narada travels all over and sometimes comes to earth to see how we're doing. One day he was passing through a forest and saw a yoga student who had been meditating for so long that the ants had built an anthill around his body. The yogi looked at Narada and said, "Narada, sir, where are you going?" Narada replied, "To heaven, to Lord Shiva's place." The yogi said, "Oh, could you do something for me there?" Narada said, "Sure, what can I do?" "Could you find out from the Lord how many more births I must meditate? I've been sitting here for quite a long time now, so please find out." And Narada said, "Sure." Then Narada walked a few miles farther and saw another man, but this one was jumping and dancing and singing all day. When he saw Narada, he said, "Hey, Narada, where you going?" Narada said, "To heaven." "Oh, that's great. Could you please find out for how long I have to be like this? When will I get my final liberation?" Narada said, "Sure, I will." So after many years, Narada happened by the same route again and saw the first man. The yogi recognized Narada and said, "Narada, I haven't had any answer from you. Did you go to heaven? What did the Lord say?" Narada said, "I asked, but the Lord said you have to take another 4 births. Another 4 births? Haven't I waited long enough?" He started shouting and lamenting. Narada walked further and saw the second man still singing and dancing. "Hey, Narada, what happened? Did you get some news from me? For me?" "Yes." "Well, tell me." "Do you see that tree there?" He said, "Sure." "Can you count the leaves on it?" "Sure, I have patience to do it. Do you want me to count them right away?" Narada said, No. You can take your time to count." "But what has that got to do with my question?" the man said. "Well, Lord Shiva said you will have to take as many births as the number of leaves on that tree." The yogi said, "Oh, is that all? So at least it's a limited number then. Now I know where it ends. That's fine. I can quickly finish this off. Thank God that he didn't say the leaves of the entire forest." Just then, a beautiful thing happened. A beautiful palanquin came down from heaven, and the driver said to the second man, "Come on, get in. Lord Shiva has sent for you." "I'm going to heaven now?" "Yes." "But just now Narada said I had to take many more births first." "Yes, but it seems that you were really ready and willing to do that. So why should you wait? Come on." "What about the other man?" "He's not even ready to wait 4 more births. Let him wait and work more." This is not a mere story. You can easily see the truth behind it. Yes? Can you see the truth behind it? So I gave you my version of the story, but it was actually coming up and I didn't even know. Can you see the truth behind this? If you are patient and your mind is settled, what you do will be more perfected. If you are unsettled and anxious to get a result, you are already disturbed. Nothing done with that disturbed mind will have quality. That's important. Nothing done with that anxious, rushing, hurrying, intense, moving forward type of mind will have quality. So it is not only how long you practice, but with what quality, with what patience and earnestness, what quality. So I think as we're moving along in this engineering process of our nervous system, of all the cells within us, the relevant question from what we just read isn't really, hey Roz, we're reading Yoga Sutras. The question really isn't how much do I have to do and how long to get where I want to get. The question is of your patience, how you go through it, and with what earnestness, how fully you immerse yourself into it. That's going to determine your ascension point. That's going to determine the change and the depth and height and width of the change you're interested in. When you settle your mind from all these mental modifications, I want this, I need that, I want that, I crave this, and you actually begin to settle your mind into a practice, your vibration does shift. Now, how are you going to do this? Fussing, pouting, being dragged along, that's going to obviously take longer, because now you got lessons to learn along the way that you have created. And that's okay. If that's your path, then you got to walk it. But we do have free will. And we can decide to go through situations in a chosen way, in an elevated way. We can. I choose this every single day of my life, so I know that it's true. There are multiple things. Now I'm giving you my personal testimony so that you can know that this is not just teaching, this is a practice. There are a myriad of things going on in my world that I could fuss about, get a bad attitude about, throw a fit about, be depressed about. There's a bunch of it. But what I've found out is that when I'm interested in evolution, I'm going to evolve, and I'm going to do it in the best way possible, because that's how I feel I deserve to live this life. I deserve to feel good. And so I don't want my mind creating mental fluctuations that disturb it. A lot of people walk around telling people don't disturb their peace. You disturb your own peace. Whenever it's disturbed, it's your working. It's your mental modification that does it. And if you want your peace to stop being disturbed, you have to detach from the way you disturb it. Now, sometimes that does mean get away from the people. Sometimes it does mean that. Especially when you are not settled in your mind to create a reality that is for your well-being. Yeah, you probably do need to separate yourself so you can get this work going. Otherwise, your attention is going to be constantly hijacked because your mind is not trained. Your attention is going to be hijacked on whatever is hijacking it. Confusion, chaos, problems, fussing, or whatever. So sometimes, yeah, Mika, sometimes you do have to separate yourself from that person or people so you can start getting your mental faculty together, so you can apply your faith and your devotion to your inner engineering. But don't think just because you removed yourself from them that you are automatically healed. And we know this because we see when we keep going back to the old thing, you could see it. So once you stop doing it, that's part one. But the question is, do you want a complete and total regeneration, or do you want to still dip and dab in the things that you know keep you down here? It's a total choice, right? And because we have free will, we get to choose it. And there's a scripture in the Bible that says, choose ye this day who you're going to serve, right? Choose ye. I urge you to choose that is what is for your betterment, right? Nervous system will be disrupted, keeping you distracted from what's important. Yes, Sparkle, it will. It will. And all y'all have to do is go inside your own experience and see how this is true. Let's take relationships, for example, right? I've been myself in times where I've gone back to try this and try that, thinking I'm better, I'm more equipped, I'm more skilled, or something like that. You get back in the same pattern, and now your head, instead of turned here toward ascension, it's turned down here toward whatever is back there still that can't get resolved, right? So we must choose ye this day. You want to move forward. You want to deepen. You want to ascend. You want to widen. You want to expand. You want to be lighter. You actually want the peace and you want to keep it. Then you got to choose ye this day devotion, patience with all of your earnestness, right? It makes me think about my clients who they want to change the way that they're eating, right? So I'll give them a nutrition plan. And at the end of whatever assessment period we have, they'll say, I ate everything on the plan. I did what you said. I did what you said, and it still didn't work. And I go, okay, maybe you did eat what's on the plan. I'm not refuting that. But what else did you eat? Because you ate things in addition to the plan. Then they start saying, well, I did take some of my daughter's Cheez-Its, and my neighbor did have a birthday party, and I just had a half a slice of cake. And, you know, when I went to Starbucks, I met with my friend, and I mean, I just had a little bit of her pumpkin loaf with some coffee. What kind of creamer was in it? Oh, it was sugar-free. I didn't put no extra sugar in it, but the creamer has sugar. Oh, you're dipping and dabbing, yet talking about you're not moving forward. It's a whole and total earnest choice. Sometimes you need support. That's why coaches are there. That's why therapists are there. That's why spiritual workers are there. Keep you some good friends who are high vibration, who can help you. You know, I have some friends, right, where I could say, hey, I think I'm choosing this. What do you see? Right? Because this is unconscious. You don't know that you're doing it. You think the situation is different when the energetics of it is the same. You woke up, yes, decide, choose ye, decide. That's a shoe, right? He tells us, you get to decide. Here are the options. You decide. You can decide how you're going to go about this life. You can go through it, going back to the teaching, not you can, but in the teaching, you can go through in patience. You can go through in flow. You can go through in turbulence. You can go through zigzag, back and forth, back and forth. You can go in a straight line. You can spiral up and down. You can choose. But you don't know what you're choosing until you understand what your energetic patterns are. Number one, from birth. Number two, from conditioning. And re-engineer that system. What does re-engineer look like? Deciding what is true, and with all earnestness, with your full attention. Yes, Kim, with your full attention. In your every thought, in your every word, in your every action, you are a vibrational match to what you're saying you want. That's what we got to do, right? So let's say you say, I want to prepare for a trip. So I'm going to save X, Y, and Z money. But you keep going back in the money and taking it, oh, I'm just going to use this. I'll put it back double next time. And you never put it back double. And you keep taking it. Before long you look and now it's like $2 when it could have been $2,000. You know, again, I'm exaggerating this so you can see the point. When you really want to change and you want to become an entirely different being, I'm telling you, it takes all of your faith in the process, all of your commitment, all of your earnestness, and all of your patience. You can go through something and be very impatient and not elevate like you could. Or you could apply patience and get the elevation that comes from the patience too. It's up to you. how hard you want to go in the paint, like they say, or how much you want to flow with what is true. All right, that's it, Ashe. I gotta go. I was reading from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. I'm going to place this video on YouTube so you can review it. If you want coaching, reach out to me on my website, veronicamarie.com. If you want to understand the patterns of your nervous system, let's talk about it. And let's talk about what needs to shift for you to become the next iteration of yourself. Ashe, are y'all good? Did this lesson hit home in any way? I want to know. It's always hitting home for me. Always. Every time I revisit this, it's like I've never read it before. It is so good, Ryan, Sean, Ashe.